This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Dear judges, the issue of poverty among the youth aged between 18 to 30 dates back to their beginning of education. The challenge with our education system right now is that we are dumping youth without skills to later on be employed and self-employed in the working economy. That is why we considered introducing vocational skills at the level of primary education. Dear judges, they're talking about the urgency of vocational education, of vocational training. It is very urgent because we have given you the fact that Uganda has a percentage of 70% youth and 23% of them are in poverty. Yet the World Bank recognizes vocational training as a way of eliminating poverty because vocational training is a way of improving personal incomes. Dear judges, we are talking about, they're telling us that we lack capital. We shall talk about that. They're asking us about sensitization. Let's go to that. We're talking about the role of vocational training in fighting poverty. We as the farmers do agree that vocational training is the best way of fighting poverty in a country like Uganda. First of all, we consider both two categories of youth. One, the youth which are upcoming, still in education. Those education levels include various education, for example, the university. The youth. Now, vocational training to this youth is to impact skills to these young people, thus increasing their capability of working in the future. According to hurricanefoundation.org, 30% of uni students drop out annually. These students are dropping out, and remember, they have taken vocational training, which is currently optional. These students do not have the quality to be self-employed in the future because vocational training is optional. But if vocational training is compulsory, these students at whatever level of education, when they drop out, they will have the skills to be employed. Excuse me. We're talking about the people who are also, they talked about people who finish education, but at the end they are unemployed. Yes, they are unemployed. Why? It is because they finish education without the skills. That is why we as the farmers are saying that let us make vocational training compulsory so that whenever they break out and whenever they finish any level of education, they finish it with the skills to be employed. In Uganda, 80% of post-secondary graduates are unemployed, one of the highest in the world. Why? It is because our vocational training is not yet compulsory. What about the unemployed? The unemployed are resting in the world there and already in financial crisis. How do the negators fight on help? How do the negators think of fighting the problem of financial crisis among the people who are out there unemployed? Now, for us, we are saying that the people who are out there unemployed, we're going to sensitize them, and our sensitization is to call all of them to a platform where they're able to receive vocational training on vocational courses. That is to say, making them able to do a lot of skills. They're saying that we are actually imposing on them force. No, vocational training has a lot of ranges. We are giving them options to choose. That is why from the level of upper primary, we carry out what we call mentoring to make them aware of the various vocational courses that are available and make sure that they undertake them. Vocational training is a way of increasing income of a country. We do not lack income. Yes, we may lack income, but vocational training is a way of increasing income among us, the youth. According to the worldsalaries.com, the lowest average monthly salary of each of the vocational trainers, the lowest is a tailor, which receives 496,000 Ugandan shillings. These are people who come out of vocational training institutions. And these people are able and they are above the poverty line. And we are achieving our main aim of curbing the problem of financial crisis. Their policies are really not achieving that aim. Remember that any kind of person who comes out of a vocational training, of a vocational institution, we increase their personal incomes. How? After that, we increase their standards of living. After that, we make sure that they live above the poverty line, therefore increasing local productivity. And at the end, what are we doing? We're increasing the tax base of our country. In general, what are we doing? We are fighting financial crisis. Now, fighting the problem of whenever we make vocational training, if we're to make vocational training a compulsory, we fight the problem facing the current vocational schools that are around. The major problem, according to the National Boards of Technical Education, it underlines the problem of lack of societal recognition as a main problem. The next speaker will talk about that. And dear judges, we request you to accept the point of making vocational training a compulsory because it's the only way of fighting financial crisis among the youth.
Pano, dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Muridian Bosco from Namilyango College, and I'm a second negative in today's debate. Now, Pano, what team affirmative neglects in today's debate is the point of mandatory. They give us several advantages of actually in vocational training, which team negative has not gone against. Now, team negative tells them why is there a need for vocational training to be mandatory in the country Uganda? And that is our discussion today. Then they come and provide to us a lot of policies, but we see no time frame and even no work plan. How they would like this to actually operate in Uganda, ladies and gentlemen. They give us several ways in which they can actually, they would wish it to happen, but how can it be incorporated into the system? They don't tell us. They also don't give us reasons as to why their kind of model or policy guarantees success and solves the actual problem in the country. Then they also don't give us the benefits of this kind of model where we have mandatory vocational training in combating the financial crisis amongst the youth. Then now we go back to the negative case now. When we ask them question that why shouldn't it be made mandatory? We look at the implementation impracticability, we look at the resource allocation, adaptability, and non-compliance. We ask them questions such as, how are they going to deal with non-compliant youths? They tell us they are going to incorporate this into the curriculum. Now when you look, they tell us it dates back to the curriculum where we have the people actually in the primary school, but then we are dealing with financial crisis amongst the youth. They identify the youth as from 18 to 35. Now this is where they crash. In primary, actually, you find that the average age is actually from 6 to 13. There is nothing like 18 to 35. If financial crisis is actually from 18 to 35, people of 18 to 35, then let us deal with those people or deal with the people that have actually come out of the school or those that would wish to understand. Now, why don't we want it to be mandatory again? Resource allocation. When you look at the total budget, the education budget of the Ministry of Education, that in which they came with as their body, they tell us that we realize that there's no funding, and the funding of this ministry is actually dropping from 1.882 trillion in the financial year, from 1.96 trillion in the financial year 2020-2023 to 1.882 trillion in the current financial year. Now, this also shows that even the funding of the new compulsory curriculum that they would like is not there. Then we also tell them that Team Affirmative has failed to convince us that without mandatory vocational training, the increase that we gave you, according to the UBTEB statistics, that in 2012 we had 9,198 candidates, and currently in 2022 we had 39,048 candidates. This shows that there's interest showed by the youths in vocational training, but there are other factors that are actually hindering the vocational training in the country. Now, they tell us they're going to integrate this in the curriculum, but we have seen this already being integrated in the O-level curriculum. So what they are trying to implement, according to their first speaker, they even tell us that these things are already there. Then what are they implementing is the question. If they want to implement this yet it is already there, what do they want to do? When we talk of, we have already told you that it cannot apply in the curriculum of the primary because they are not part of the youth. Then when you look at the 207 vocational institutes they talk of, we asked them that can this cater for the 44 million? They told us 70% of the population is actually the youths. Then 70% of 44 million is 30.8 million youths. How are they going to all go in for this mandatory training? Can the facilities in the country actually accommodate all these youths, the 30.8 million youths? Then their second speaker tells us that's how we're going to cater for those that are outside and unemployed. We look at the youth seminars. So we're going to realize that our problems are actually stigma and perception in the society. We have talked of grassroots sensitization, and we tell you these are the actual problems. Then we look at the reason, the point of equity and poverty. The youth cannot actually afford these institutions. So we tell that we are going to provide study loans, and also we are going to provide scholarships to those who may want. And then we also want to build interests. You realize that there's a narrow range of courses in the vocational institutes. And these are the actual problems that are actually forcing the vocational institutes, not what they are trying to present. They have not given us a reason as to why we need the mandatory. And they're ignoring this word. No wonder they did not even define it, ladies and gentlemen. When we look at the reasons as to why vocational institutes are not prospering as expected, we see the financial instabilities. Therefore, they are providing a narrow range spectrum of courses, and then they are not catering for the interests of this. So the youths cannot go in. Someone wants to become electrical, he wants to do electrical wiring, but you're providing radio repairing. Even the courses are outdated and they cannot apply in the labor market. So we tell them that let us look at the point of labor market as we provide in our policy that we need to do a curriculum reform in which we cater for the labor market demand. That there are certain jobs that are actually needed and the youths are interested in certain jobs. So if we can do all these reforms, we don't need to make the thing mandatory. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, education in Uganda has proved that it was a success, but now the padlocks are being changed. And we need vocational training, but not mandatory. Thank you.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.